Okay, we're going to talk about estate planning today. Why is that? Well, I am in my 70s. I'm single. I'm basically have accepted and acknowledged my retirement status, even though I thought I'd work for the rest of my life. I'm at the point now where, you know what? What do I want to work for? Except to pass it on to my grandchildren. But I've been pretty fortunate. As you know, I'm from Minnesota. I'm one of 11 children. My father's 100. My mother passed away at 94. So I expect to hopefully live another 15, 20 years in a healthy way. And I started putting my estate plan together as a single person, a single parent, back in the 90s. That's the first time I sold one business in 1993. So I ended up as a single person, and I was advised by my attorneys and so on. So if something happened to me, I would pass on my estate to my 3 children that were all very young at the time. I believe they were 12 to 15 years old and under. So I started to learn that you need an attorney, a specialist in estate planning in the state of Minnesota. So I put that together, and I was single for 22 years, and so my personal trustee with a good friend of mine that had a business, that was also divorced, single, and had an estate of his own that he had to protect. But it was somebody I could trust, because I really felt that my children are too young. So we basically used the standard, if something happened to me upon my death, there'd be a third, and a third amongst the kids at a certain age. And the estate value was over seven figures. So I had something. And so I had to get some life insurance. So I got a term insurance for 7 figures plus. And just to protect the tax situation for my kids so they wouldn't end up with a tax consequence. So I more or less planned everything accordingly to my advisors, my tax advisors, my estate attorney, my insurance guy, and so on. So with that, I just kept on going, thinking that, if anything ever happens, I'm covered. Well, 22 years later, I get married for the second time. And so I lived in Florida, so everything changed. So my estate plan changed. If something happened to me, I included my second wife in the process. Well, 12 years later, I went through a divorce with the second wife, and I had to revisit my estate plan. And the reason why for this video is just to share with everyone basically the process. So if you want to leave something for your kids, if you want to leave something for your grandkids, the rules change almost every year. Death benefits and so on, so your beneficiaries. So if you have something or nothing, you want to make sure that it doesn't go into probate. So what was my strategy? My strategy was to go back to my attorneys, my estate planners, my life insurance planner, and all my agency beneficiaries. I changed from my second wife to strictly my children. Okay? Now that I've been divorced for a few years, I wanted to change that again. Plus, I'm in the retirement mode. Medicare, Social Security. I still have a consulting business and so on. And I've been a saver basically all my life. So I have investments. So what did I do? I contacted my estate planner and said, okay, here's the situation. And I want to make sure my ex-wife doesn't come after for any monetary opportunities because she's using my last name, and the estate, she should not have any opportunity to contest my estate plan. So I hired an attorney to make sure that, and then I contacted her and her attorney to possibly even consider changing my last name, or her last name, which is my last name, because she's had such problems with her finances and so on over the years. And that's one of the reasons why I divorced her, was because of her financial irresponsibility. And basically, I wanted to make sure that was taken care of. So I had to actually hire an attorney to make sure that she has no obligations due to her from my estate. So that's been taken care of. So in the meantime, my father's still alive, and I understand my father's using skip generation opportunities and beneficiaries. So I said, you know what, maybe I should do the same thing, because my kids are financially successful. They won't need the money. So I wanted to make sure my kids get it, plus my charities, because I do have a foundation. So what did I do? I updated my estate to do just that. So before I signed off on my trust and then my wishes with my attorney, I spoke to my co-trustees, which are my two sons. Why? Number one, they're both CFAs. That's like a PhD in finance. They're both very knowledgeable and capable to running the stewardship of my estate plan upon my death. And so that's what I did. So I sat down with my two boys. Even though my daughter's involved, my two boys are the ones that are going to implement and execute my estate plan and my wishes upon my death. So I'm pretty excited about that. They agreed. We met at a great restaurant because I want it to be an annual situation to kind of give them an update. And then they're going to utilize it for 529 education funds and Roth funds for my grandchildren. So that's all I could wish for, that they could do it. So it was a great opportunity to sit down with my boys, share with them my history, my background, what to expect upon my death, what I hope that they'll do together as two brothers and two of my sons. And I trust them. That's the biggest issue. I trust them to implement and execute the game plan for my grandchildren and my daughter. So with that, I just want to let you know that, you know what? There's a lot involved. There's life insurance involved. There's the estate plan to be involved. There's real estate involved. There's agency investments. There's a Roth IRA involved. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And I want to start gifting my children, my grandchildren, through my wealth that I want to preserve and grow. And then my foundation, which my children know are my wishes as part upon the children and the grandchildren. So the bottom line is the opportunity to even do it. And that's why I'm on YouTube, is to share my information on the strategy that I utilize and how I execute it while I was alive. Because that's important to me. So now, my kids understand now my journey for the next 20 years is travel, is financial growth for my estate plans, and to live a comfortable life and a healthy life. That's the game plan. There's no more big issue on goals and aspirations of finance. It's more about wealth and happiness. And to me, if I could share that with my children, because they've been with me all the way through, seeing my mishaps and where I would pick the wrong horse in certain areas, but there's certain things that I've done in my career, in my financial aspirations and goals, that I did the right thing. So the bottom line is integrity. The bottom line includes legacy. And that Papa Rock wants to pass on the opportunities that not only did I receive from my parents and my foundation, but my kids also received opportunities from me and my family and my parents and my foundation of grandparents and so on, and our reputation. And now I want that to pass on to my grandchildren so they could see that, wow, this all happened because of generations of being good people, you know? So that's what I wanted to share today. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It was successful. Sat down with my two boys, and when I was so honored to see those two boys in their 40s, mid-40s, how much they've grown and what they've done with their children. Wow, it's amazing. I am so proud. You know, and now it's up to them to pass on. So my hope is that I'll pick the right horse as I continue on with my journey, and that they respect me. My kids don't have to idolize me. I just want them to respect me for the right reasons, and I want to do the same with them. And that's what I'm doing. I respect them enough to trust them that they're going to do the right thing with their children. That's my hope. So that's today's session, is the pillar of legacy. So as I mentioned before, I talk about the pillars. The number one pillar of Rock LaManna's foundation. Foundation is about your background, your childhood, your coaches, your grade schools, your high schools, your friends, your grandparents, what they gave to us. Then the second pillar is called mastery. That's your 20, 30 year, in my case, 50 years of building, mastering my profession and doing the right thing. And then you could continue on. Once you master something, you become independent, where you can call the shots and then pass on your wisdom, which my parents helped me a lot with. And that's all the wins, losses, and lessons that I've learned. And then, I talked about the independence. After mastery is the third pillar, which is transformation, or the transitions of going through that. In my case, I have 8 careers in my 50-year career. It's not just one deal. I've grown in 8 different ways in over 50 years. Wins, losses. And then you have to make that decision when to become independent. And that's what I'm doing now, is becoming independent. After 8 different transitions and transformations, I became independent over the years. And it's scary. After you receive success, it's really hard to feel failure the next time around. So you try to preserve that knowledge so you can move on to the next success, which is your independence. Okay? And then after you become independent, like I have, I've enjoyed my legacy. And so I've worked on my legacy since age 66. I'm 71 now. So it's been a 5-year transition, including a divorce. So I had to structure knowing that my divorce was going to be part of my legacy, because that was part of the cost and the risk of letting go of the past and say, you know what, it's not working out. After 12 years of risk-taking and hoping and beliefs that things were going to work out, well, they never did. So I had to make the decision to divorce, and that was really hard. It was really hard. And I spent another 3 years financially trying to get through where I could preserve my wealth. So I had to continue working, you know what I mean, to pay off my obligations to my ex-wife. And that was hard. But guess what? God gave me the foresight and the courage to make those decisions and move on without a wife that I probably wouldn't be able to pass on my legacies the way I am with my attorneys, my children, my grandchildren, and so on, because I always had this in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to work out in the long term. And I just didn't want to risk that. So I went through an annulment process, and the annulment process with the Catholic Church helped me a lot too, to say I made the right decision. You know, because there was a lot of negative reasons why I married the second time. And in fact, the Catholic Church nullified my second marriage. So in a way, I was never really married the second time around in the Catholic Church. The state, though, oh yeah, the state makes you pay, especially if you're the breadwinner. So with that, I got the independence and the freedom to say, you know what? Now it's time to sit down with my sons and to implement and execute my game plan. So now that I'm back to Florida and realized that I spoke to my father, I had that in the back of my mind, and I feel the pride of being able to do what I'm doing. It was huge. So my next step is basically call my attorney and execute the contracts, sell my condo, and basically just keep on growing on a personal basis in my wealth, whatever that may be, and feel the peace that I have, that my sons and my grandchildren will have the same opportunities I had. Now it's up to them to take that opportunity and grow it. So I'm happy to say that it was very strategic. It took time. So let me see here. So we got, I started my first estate plan in 1993. And now we got 2025. So I've modified my estate plan, as you could see, multiple times, starting in Minnesota and now in Florida. And I don't know where I'm going to end up down the road. But either way, I feel confident and encouraged, empowered that my two sons will take care of my future estate plans and will fulfill my wishes. So God bless. I hope this was beneficial, because either way, even if you don't have the health, it's still important, as you're alive and competent, that you could share this with your kids, like I did with my father at 100. How many people can do that? And the other issue is I have long-term care that I invested in before I was 60, because I saw what my parents were going through. So if I have some issue of health care and so on, I also have long-term care, which is a huge benefit to preserve your wealth over the years. So make sure you look at that too as you're looking at your estate plan, you know? But using video, using YouTube channels and so on, and using this for your grandkids and your family, now they're going to understand how I thought, you know, my process. And I could take them back to 1993 to let them know that I've always had them in mind. And now I'm at the point where I have 4 grandchildren that I have them in mind. And I feel successful because all 3 of my kids implemented and executed some of my value system, which was education, encouragement, and empowerment. And they've used that towards their grandchildren, or my grandchildren, which are their children. So I'm very pleased with that. So God bless. Once I say it again, make sure you pick the right horse. Make sure you keep your promises. God bless. And we'll talk to you soon.